From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
How y'all are? Cajun Rob here hanging with you.
I don't know what it is, man, but you get me every time on that.
I know. I like it. I love it.
I think that's why you do it.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. Tonight we have a special guest. We had some issues with the guest that we were supposed to have on, and what's going on here?
I don't know. Facebook be the Facebook.
That's what it is. But anyways, at the last minute, we got a good friend, good fisherman. Even though he's from Oklahoma, that's okay. We still appreciate him. He does a lot on Facebook. You know, he keeps me laughing. So let's bring on none other than the man, the myth. What's his name again?
Eddie Carper.
Eddie Carper. Transplant from Oklahoma to Ohio. He's got to stay with the O's. All right, I'm bringing him on now.
All right.
Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good. It's going good.
All right. All right.
It's Wednesday evening. We're getting closer to the weekend.
That's right, man. We're almost there. Over hump day almost. We'll be hump day before we know it.
Yep. Won't be long.
Yes, sir.
But I felt summer here today.
How you doing, buddy?
Ooh, it's warm up here, too. It actually makes me want to get out there and go fishing. I actually tried it last weekend. Didn't turn out too good for me, but I had a good time regardless, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I just don't know how these fish up here act really yet. I haven't fished up here much, fished Erie just a little bit. And that's a kind of a bad experience in my fishing career, going up there for the first time and 0 on one day, and I came in with 18 the next, and then pretty much bombed the next day with 12 pounds, you know, and everybody else is catching 20 to 25, 30 even. And I'm, oh, geez, what are they doing? But yeah, I don't have enough line on my reels to reach down there 30, 40 foot deep and catch them fish, but I do now.
Oh, yeah. You're getting there. You're getting there, man.
I'm getting there. I'm learning.
It's a learning curve, definitely.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, you know, just to know what I ran by to get out there and try to catch those fish, it boggles the mind because I'm a largemouth fisherman. I fish shallow water. I flip. I punch. I throw spinner baits, buzz baits, things like that. And I never even thought of going into East or West Harbor on Lake Erie. And I should have, but it never, I had those smallmouth programmed in my brain, and I was going to go do them come hell or high water. That's what I was going after because I knew that's what was going to win. And that's kind of what we got to do.
Yep.
But, you know, I just made a bad error in judgment there, thinking that I could go out there and catch those things doing something that I had never done before in my life. But we won't make that mistake again. I'm a little more schooled on it now.
Live and learn, man. Live and learn.
Look out. I'm going up there in about a month and a half. I'm going to go up there and probably fish a BFL. So they better watch me.
Cool deal, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're having fun.
Oh, yeah. You know, I got out this past weekend. I went to little Buckeye Lakes here. It's only probably 25 miles from where I stay at. And I got out there and I was going to go live at 7 a.m. and I couldn't get my freaking GoPros to get with my Facebook program and do all of it. And finally, I just went on the phone and said, the heck with it. And I just held my phone for a little bit and idled around and kind of propped my phone up and fished for a little bit. You know, I did not, you know, it's bad for me to say, but everybody has these kind of days. I went to a brand new lake. I'd never been there, had done no research other than to know that there's a few bass in there. and I fished around for a while. I didn't get a bite, but it wasn't long after I started fishing that my lower back particularly, started hurting real bad. And at
Ooh.
like 11 o'clock in the morning, I had no choice. I had to come off the water. I physically couldn't stand up.
Mm.
So I don't know what's going on with that business, but we're going to get it figured out. I'm trying to get an MRI scheduled to see what's going on with my lower back, and because I've never really had trouble with it before. Well, I had some last year, I think, but I thought that was kind of due to, like, you know how we get excited, we kind of jump out of the boat when we get, pull it up on the ramp and get up on the parking lot. We kind of jump over the side of the boat or whatever. I thought maybe I did that and kind of jarred it, and that caused the problem. But it went away after a couple of days, and since then I've had now about 4 periods where it's really, really, really bothered me. It bothered me to the point where I physically couldn't stand up,
Ooh.
So it really hurt bad. I couldn't bend over, even laying down hurt, breathing hurt. I do not know what it is. Only thing I know is that it's in the L4 region.
Right.
And I'm trying to get an MRI scheduled right now to find out what's going on in there. So
definitely.
Because I've never really, I've done some. I don't look. I'm old enough. I've done some pretty crazy things back in the '80s. Like parachuting off a combine with a freaking Glad trash bag, like that was going to work. I was like 9 years old in 1981. When I tried doing that. We're kids. We're going to do stuff.
Hey, y'all, watch this. Hey, y'all, watch this.
Yeah. It's a learning curve, a big one.
Yeah, it is.
We're just trying to, out there as kids, we're trying to have fun. We're playing in fields that are full of thorns and things like that. And later in my life, some of that stuff I feel like is kind of caught up with me, and it's probably caught up with a lot of us, right?
Oh, yeah.
In years and years of running lakes and jumping wakes and, coming up on barges and jumping those big things and doing that, it's probably has taken its toll on me a little bit, but
oh, absolutely.
But I really don't feel like that's what the problem is. I think I've got maybe a pinched nerve in my lower back or something, because it's absolutely not hurting me right now at the minute, where 2 days ago I could barely stand up 3 days ago.
Ooh.
So it comes and it goes. It's kind of weird, but we won't stay on that. We'll stay on the good topics. But at the end of the day, I went to, like I said, I went to Buckeye Lake and I fished around there, and boy, I'll tell you what, it's like, the end of April up here in Ohio, there's freaking lily pads everywhere.
Oh, hey.
And I can't catch a bass out of them. I'm thinking, my head is just going, running 90 miles an hour. What the heck's going on here? Are these fish on the nest? If they are, I can't see them because I look for them, and it's like, and then I hear there's not very many fish in there, but it got too windy for me to do like a little wacky worm under the docks and stuff like that, out kind of in the open lake. And I did some things where I should have caught some fish, but I didn't. So maybe we go to a different lake next weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, they ain't biting one place. You got to go somewhere else.
You're gonna figure it out, man. Ain't no doubt.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'll figure it out. It's not too far drive from here. Like I said, it's only about 20-25 minutes. And so I can tell you this, a pretty little lake. It's full of docks. The water is after the wind got blowing the other day, it kind of got pretty turbid. But when I first got there, the water was pretty clear looking. And, it really looks good, and it sets up good to catch some nice fish, So we're not looking at like Florida strain bass. We're looking at northern strain bass, which are far more aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
So you should be able to catch some. But anyway, I probably just caught them on a really bad day. And that's just basically an excuse. But but it is what it is. Sometimes we just go out there and, as good as we are, we're just not going to catch them.
Yeah, you didn't get the right puzzle piece, but you'll get it, man.
I will get it. It's probably a lot of it was due to me winching over my back and trying to.
Yeah.
I haven't shared any of the GoPro footage because of that, because a lot of it's me standing up there with my right hand on my back.
Oh man. Yep.
And no reason really for it other than I had went and got my boat on Thursday from Malone's Marine, and I had them put a new lower unit on my boat. And I just got it back on last Thursday evening, and all the stuff that I had brought with me from Oklahoma was inside my boat. So, and it was down there under a cover all this time, and I got to unloading that and bringing it in my little old apartment here, and I'm pretty sure that's what aggravated my back, because it was like hundreds of pounds of plastics and and stuff like that, just ridiculous amounts of fishing gear that nobody should have, really. But that's what hurt my back, and I immediately the next morning went fishing. Of course, I'd been up here for 3 months and I hadn't been fishing, so I was really jonesing to go.
Oh yeah.
So at that point, it really didn't matter. I was going somewhere.
I do have a question for you. I was scrolling through your Facebook page, and I saw something that I wanted to check and see if this was you. Is that your new setup?
I was like something Barking Rugers would drive around. I see Barking Rugers driving something like that around.
No, that totally wasn't me. But don't put it past me, because you'll have to see something on there next week just like that. The way things are going.
Oh man!
I believe I can put this old 48-inch flat screen TV I got here in the apartment, and just kind of what do you call it? Take a USB cable and run it off our Lowrance, and I believe we'll be just fine.
There you go.
I'll probably see every fish in the lake.
Pretty soon they'll have the whole front deck be a screen.
Yeah. I hear you. It's like, I understand why those guys do it. They kind of have to. I kind of hate the direction it's going, to whether that catches me flack or not. I have no problem with 4-facing sonar, but I think it needs to be limited to one. And I think, we're getting so many graphs on our boats now to where, safety is becoming a concern with me. Being able to see over them, between them, all those things. It's just getting a little bit out of hand and ridiculous. And I think we're just projecting a bad image on our youth with that. Thinking they got to have $50,000 worth of Lowrance electronics to go out there and compete in the tournament, which is totally not true. You can take the graphs off mine, and I'm still going to catch them.
Yep.
But can I compete with the guys out there chasing them around with 4-facing sonar? Maybe not, but in certain situations, I'll guarantee you I can.
Yeah. Barking Rumor says, "Come on now, son. Ain't no use in having throttle if you ain't gonna bite into it."
Oh, I ain't scared. I ain't scared to run now. I'll go.
I just want to let you know, he's in Louisiana. He doesn't get that New York weather.
No. He's got shallow water. Well, he's charging through it though. I guarantee.
Yeah. Hey, believe it or not, I spent quite a bit of time down in. I got some good friends that live in Pierre Park, Louisiana, so I spent quite a bit of time down there fishing the most sloughs and stuff down there like that. And my fishing down there was kind of post hurricane, so it wasn't very good. But I tell you what, if you want to see some beautiful water and some beautiful country and some scenery, just slip on down there and put your boat in one of them bayous and just ease around. It'll amaze you at what you see.
Oh yeah, those cypress trees and those Spanish moss, man, you can't beat it.
Oh yeah, it just like takes you back. I mean, I can't put it any other way. It just takes you back to when Lewis and Clark and those types were here, kind of discovering things, and you kind of get a glimpse of what they might have seen.
Oh yeah,
when they came through in the 1800s, seeing what that country looked like. So, it's no different. Oklahoma actually has some of that stuff too, but it's way more prevalent down there through South Arkansas down into Louisiana. You got places like that in Georgia, obviously Florida. It's and I work all over the country. So I've even worked in Australia and China and some in the Middle East, and I've did a lot of things. But there is no place in this country, in this world, that compares with what we have here in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Nothing.
We're lucky.
I don't know. I've been to some nice beaches in Germany, walking around during the summertime.
Excluding the beaches. Now we're talking about outdoors here. Yeah, I guess you consider that outdoors, but we're talking fishing, hunting, that kind of business. But hey,
no, but
there's no place in the world I'd rather be than right here.
I agree with you. I agree.
Absolutely. We're blessed.
One thing I wanted to talk to you about was a post on your Facebook that people don't pay any attention to. And they're like, this is heavy. I can't do this all day. I can't do this. And that's because they don't have their tools balanced properly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And what I meant by that post is, it doesn't matter what rod and reel, line, lure that you use. It doesn't matter, as long as you've got a rod that's fit for purpose. It's just kind of a difference between using maybe a medium action rod and a medium heavy action rod. What do you do with those? And you need to pair it up with a 200 or maybe even a 300 size reel. And maybe if you're flipping, heavy cover, bushes and logs and brush and stuff like I do, you need that 20 or 25 pound test and that heavy jig or that heavy, whatever on there, soft plastic lure on there. But if you're out there in open water and you're chasing spotted bass or smallmouth or something, you don't need something like that. You need something much lighter and more comfortable in your hand. It's not that you can't feel the fish bite, but what happens is if you use too stiff of a rod out there doing that kind of things, you're going to lose a lot of fish. Number one, you're going to set the hook into them, and you're just going to rip their mouth open, and you're going to think, oh, he got off. No, the hook cut through his lip, and it come out. Where if you use in open water, if you use a medium action spinning rod, well, say 10 pound test, you more or less don't jerk. You just kind of lean into them with a little small hook, and you'll catch every dadgum fish that bites. It's about pairing your equipment for what you're doing.
Yes.
And you have to have some level of understanding of fishing to be able to do that, because it's not a one size fits all deal.
Correct.
If it's uncomfortable, like look here, if you take a 7.5 foot heavy action flipping rod and you're trying to skip jigs under docks, that's not going to work very good. That's not going to work very good. But if you take a medium heavy rod, we'll say 15, 17, maybe 20 pound test, a medium heavy, it's got a little more forgiving tip action on there. It's a little bit slower. Then you can roll that thing under there and make a really good cast. Whereas you can't with that really stiff rod because you have no control.
Right.
It's all about control.
Yeah, you got to have that tip, a little bit of tip action, a little bit of tip.
You have to have a little bit of tip action. So with my fishing, I always lean towards a lighter tip is better, unless like I'm fishing, like if I'm punching heavy hydrilla or something like that, now I want a freaking broomstick there.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you bust out the tuna rod.
Oh, yeah. That's when you bust out the big stuff. And I've got it. Trust me, I've got it. But the best flipping rod I have, and like they're not a sponsor of mine at all. But and I kind of worked with them a little bit, and we just didn't really g-haul. But I'm still going to say them anyway, because it doesn't matter. I don't have a rod sponsor right now, and I don't care. It's a Pride 7'6" Pride, and it's a heavy action rod, but it's got a little bit of tip to it.
Yep.
That is my favorite, all-time favorite flipping rod, and I can do so much with it. So if you have a lighter tip, I like to flip with a pitch or flip with like a 5/16 to a 1/2 ounce sinker. No more than that.
Yep.
But if I go up to like a 3/4 or 1 ounce sinker, that's when I want that really heavy rod. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
Because I feel like I have more control over my bait with that. I rarely ever use braided line for any of my stuff. Only time I use braided line is if I'm really in some nasty thick grass, thick lily pads, anything that's super duper thick. If I'm flipping just wood and bushes, 100% fluorocarbon all day long.
Oh yeah.
I rarely ever miss or lose a fish or have one break me off.
Yeah, we're gonna have a couple comments here on that one, but I just want to mention a comment that came up. Barking Rugers, say you're a little off balance.
I figured you'd catch that.
I guess size is relative, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure where that question was going. 100%.
But you ain't talking about Pride rods. Billy Kistler, man, makes a great rod. I know Robert Mean, some of them guys over there, man, they make some great rods. You're absolutely correct.
They're really, really, really good people. I have several different rods. Look, I've got some old Falcon rods that I've had for years and years. I'm talking about over 30 years. There ain't no way you can buy them from me. I won't part with them. But they're pre-Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were made in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 100% right there.
Yep.
The Pride rods are pretty much 100% made in Willis, Texas.
Yep.
I did a little stint there. I used some Kistler rods for a while, and he's made there in Montgomery, Texas.
Yep.
Good rods. I ain't complaining about them. I had some issues, but I can't complain about it. I caught a bazillion fish on the daggum things. It's hard to complain about a rod where you caught so many fish. But so I'm not specifically using when I'm out competing. I'm not specifically using one rod. I have 2 or 3 here. I've even got some Alpha Angler rods. That's the one you see me throw my chatterbait on all the time.
Yep.
That thing is phenomenal. It's just like it's like I wish I could get one rod company that would make everything I wanted perfectly, and then I don't know, I'd be happy. I'll put it that way. But nobody seems to do that. It's like this guy builds this rod, it's great for this, and this company builds these, and it's great for this. I don't think any one company out there builds a perfect rod for every scenario. And there's different price ranges and things. I prefer. My mind wants to tell me that if I spend more than $150 or $200 on a rod, I done spent too much. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I kind of hate to say that where the industry is going right now, but I kind of really mean that from the depth of my soul.
Yep.
I just don't feel like there's that much difference between a $500 rod and a $250 rod.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't mean to. I'm not talking negatively about anybody out there. If you feel like a rod, if you need a $500 rod to do what you need to do, then you need to go buy that $500 rod.
Yes.
If you feel like the $200 rod, it feels good, it fits you, it works good for you, then buy it. I think the days of the $100 rods are pretty well over with. But
but they've come a long way. I mean, the last 10 years, rod technology and rod manufacturers come a long way.
Oh yeah. When I first started, a freaking medium heavy was about the only thing you could get.
Yeah.
So, You know,
Yeah.
and still that's kind of my number one rod I fish with all the time is just a real old 7-foot medium heavy rod. And I'll tell you something else about rods too. A lot of people fish with a rod that's too much rod for them.
Yeah.
It's like me. I'm 5'7" tall. I'm a short guy, so I'm more comfortable with a 7'2" rod than I am a 7'6" rod.
Yep.
I feel like I'm faster. I'm quicker on the hook set. I just do a better job for me personally, even with a 7-foot rod. I'd love for somebody to start making the old 6 foot, 5.5, 6 foot pistol grip rod again, that way I could kind of roll it around boat docks and cypress trees and stuff like that. But nobody out there seems to do that. But it's kind of, it's kind of, you have to be in fishing. You have to kind of be at your comfort level, and the equipment you use needs to be comfortable to you. It don't matter what Kevin Van Dam over here is throwing. He might be throwing a 7.5, 7 foot, 8 foot, whatever cranking rod, but that rod's not comfortable for you.
Yeah.
And each person kind of has to develop that for themselves. It's not a one size fits all industry, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah. I still got a 6'3". I use spinnerbait some on my boater is close to the bank. I can dang roll cast that thing and just the shorter. Seems like the shorter the rod, the more accurate you can get with it. But
back in the days, the old 5.
I'm with you on that.
Pistol grip rod that you can just make a little roll cast and roll by them trees. You can't beat it. But the problem with that is the people inside the industry, people like me, people like you that fish a lot, we understand that.
Yeah.
But the general public that's out here watching the guys on TV, punching mats and flipping, they think they need that 7.5 foot extra heavy rod to do whatever they need to do.
I've seen a little high school kid like 5'2" have like a 7.6 flipping stick. I'm like, it just don't look right. It don't look right.
It not only don't look right, it's not going to work right for him either. He's going to lose.
Yeah, it'll wear him out. It'll wear him out by about noon. He's going to be wore out.
Yep, 100%. That's me. When I was coming up in grade school and high school, I used to fish some tournaments with my dad, right? And my dad's a big old guy. He's 6 foot plus. He's a big dude. And he used pretty long rods, 7.5 foot rods. We'd be back on like my home lake, Pine Creek Lake in Oklahoma. We'd be back in one of the creek arms, throwing a jig around stumps and this and that. And gosh, mighty back in the day. Oh my goodness, it'd take 25 to 28 pounds to win a 5-fish event back then. And he would get so mad at me, and all I had to fish with was like a 7 foot rod or 7'5" or 6 or whatever it was back then. And the reels were really slow. And I would set the hook on those fish, and the rod would basically, it's hard to understand, but the rod would actually overpower me. And the fish would come at me so fast running towards the deeper water, the creek channel or ditch or whatever was right there, that they would just basically outrun me and come off. I couldn't keep up with them because I jerked so much slack in my line when I jerked the fish, and then the fish would just outrun me. So you kind of got to be mindful of what you fish with. I think all around the best length of rod all around, 100%, no doubt in my mind, is a 7 foot rod.
Absolutely.
No more, no less. 7 foot rod, you can do everything you need to do with.
Absolutely.
Eddie, do you like cork?
Do I like, what in the world are you holding there?
He got a pistol grip,
brother.
Oh my goodness gracious, that's a little. Oh man, you'll have to send me that in a picture. That thumbnail is way too small.
Oh yeah.
I have it in cork and I have it in EVA.
Oh hey,
man. I can dig either one of them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
I have asked so many companies to build that rod, and I mean I'm talking about for the last 6 or 7 years, and nobody will bite. Nobody will bite because they won't sell. Because people don't understand how effective that little rod actually is.
There's a bunch of old school guys who buy it. There's a bunch of old school guys still buy it.
That's what I'm saying. Back in the freaking 80s, you see, Roland Martin and freaking, just you name it, all of them.
Yep.
What they have? A 5.5 foot pistol grip rod. That's all they had. That's all they had to fish with.
Yep.
That's all we had back then. But there's one thing that those rods were, just like I was saying, were super good at, and that is getting in close to cover and rolling.
Yep.
You talk about skip a little old bait back under a dock. Or I tell you what, that'd be the cream of the crop right there. Personally, I think that, but not everybody does. But
I made me a dock rocket and it was a 5.5 foot spinning rod. There was a medium heavy action.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could skip anything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Most people nowadays don't really understand what's going on with that. They're overpowering the situation. They're using too much rod for the situation.
Yeah.
And that's what, look, I'm not a big time name guy or anything like that, but what I'm saying is absolutely the truth.
Oh, yeah.
It's the truth. I'm not trying to go out there and sell somebody a 7.5 foot heavy action flipping rod. I'm trying to sell somebody a 5.5 or 6 foot medium heavy spinnerbait rod that they can truly be accurate with and scooting that spinnerbait back in the bushes and rolling it out. You don't need that much power for that. So the trees, the logs, the things like that, you're not out there 40 yards away making a bomb cast over there at them. If you are, shame on you, because you're going to lose a lot of fish. They're going to break your line. But if you're up there, up there close, you're talking about a roll cast, 20 yards. Just, not even 20 yards, maybe 10 yards, maybe 10 feet. Those little bitty short casts like that, there's a lot of efficiency that comes into play there.
Oh, yeah.
When you do that, because I can take a 5.5 foot rod, and I bet you I can make 10 casts of the old 10.
Oh, yeah.
5.
And accurate.
Very accurate. You're rolling a old double Colorado bladed spinnerbait around the edge of a cypress tree. You look at what Hackney did down there on what was St. John's the other week.
Yep.
That's exactly what he was doing there. And catching those fish, and he got a top 10 out of the deal. I won a tournament down there a few years ago doing something somewhat similar, but it was in January. But I wasn't using a 7.5 foot heavy action rod to do that. I was using a 7 foot medium heavy action rod to do what I was doing there. So when you come back to having a balanced rod, a balanced reel, balance your line, balance all that to the bait that you plan on throwing. The lighter the bait, the lighter the action of the rod that you need. So if you're going out there to punch a 1 ounce weight in the grass on Lake Okeechobee, that's where you need that double extra heavy broomstick rod.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, you don't really need that. You just have to pair your equipment to what you're fishing with, and that's going to translate into a better fishing day. At the end of the day, your back's not going to hurt. Your arms aren't going to be sore. It's just more efficient, and you're going to feel more about it.
Absolutely.
Feel more better about it. Is what I mean to say.
Yeah, Andrew Pulliam says he thinks Hank Parker has a loose rod with a pistol grip, and thinks that they're in Walmart.
I admire the heck out of Hank Parker.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. If I have a hero in the fishing industry, it's Hank. Hank's a good Christian man. He does a lot for the sport. He continues to do a lot for the sport. I watch his podcast every now and then. Absolute stand-up guy. I have never met him personally. My daddy has. Yep. I have never met Hank personally. I've seen him a couple times, but I couldn't get close enough to talk to him. And I just bet you, I bet you every rod in my boat right now that Hank's got 2 or 3 pistol grip rods in his boat.
Probably does.
No
No
doubt.
doubt.
Because those guys, look, back in the day when they were competing a lot, you had, let me think of Jimmy Houston.
Yep.
They were all competing together. And that's all Jimmy Houston threw was a spinnerbait. Still is today, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
A spinnerbait or a buzzbait or something like that. And he still uses a little old short rod. I don't know where he gets them, but hey, maybe I need to go down to Walmart and see if I can find me one. I hadn't seen one, but maybe I
ain't
need
either.
to,
Now, Brock Crone says, why is there nobody on tour using a 5.5 foot rod? My guess is money.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of that right there is true.
Yeah.
The guys, the companies, I just said it a few minutes ago. The companies that I've tried to work with in the past 6 to 7 years, I begged them to make that rod, and none of them have made it yet. So, that tells you a lot about what's selling and what's moving, and I find that to be somewhat disappointing to me. Is I'm not out there to sell somebody something that just won't work for them.
Right.
I want people to enjoy going fishing and having a good time. And to me, that short rod, number one is you take a 5 or 6 year old kid out there fishing with you. He can use that rod. It won't overpower him. He can use it and use it effectively. Where if you put a 7 foot rod in his hand, he's got to use both hands to throw it, and it just
wear him out.
It's just cumbersome. It makes him tired. Wears him out. So a little short rod is better. And I'd pretty much challenge anybody that's watching or listening right now to get their hands on a smaller rod like that, and go to a place like St. John's or Millwood Lake or Santee Cooper, somewhere that's got a lot of cypress trees and brush and stuff like that, and just play with that thing. Just kind of sling it around a little bit. I think it'll win them over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want a big
work involved.
I won a big bass trophy on a BFL about 3 years ago. I was using a 6.3 rod and a little spinner bait on mono, and I won a tied big bass that day.
Golly, I can believe it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, and she hit right at the boat.
Hey, speaking of the BFLs, I'm fixing to go ahead and pull the trigger and just sign up for all the BFLs up here in this Buckeye division up here in Ohio. I've always heard how tough of the fisheries are, and particularly the Ohio River and coming up from where I come up from, fishing the Arkansas River and all the way from way up in Oklahoma all the way down through Arkansas into Louisiana. I fished a lot of that country, so that kind of fishing kind of excites me, kind of gets me back to my roots, if you will, a little bit. I think more tournaments need to be on the river. More of the bigger tournaments need to be on the river, in my opinion. But so I'm gonna fish some of these things up here in Ohio and see how we go. We start off in a couple of weeks at Tanner's Creek on the Ohio River, and man, am I looking forward to that.
I fished Tanner's Creek twice. You'll have fun. I mean, it's a lot of smaller fish. You'll catch fish. Just getting the ones to keep is the key down there.
Well, I told the guy commented on my Facebook, and I put that on my Facebook. He said, something tune of, enjoy catching 20 pounds. You can come over here, or enjoy catching 10 pounds. Or you can come over here in Indiana and catch 22 or 23. And my response back was, catching 10 is equivalent to catching 23 over there. It pays the same.
Yep,
no matter, and that's kind of the mindset you have to get into when you come to a place like this, where we know, look, there's two places in the Buckeye division where you can actually crack a good stringer bass. One of them is on what's that lake called? Mosquito Lake.
Yeah, Mosquito. I heard it's pretty good.
It's pretty good from what I hear. I've never seen it, but I hear it is. And then of course you got Lake Erie, and outside of that you have Indian Lake, which 10 pounds is pretty strong there. And the Ohio River, we'll fish it twice, and 10 pounds is pretty strong there. So, you kind of have to go into it with the mindset of, hey, it's going to be tough. We're not going to get a lot of bites. We're not going to get any. Maybe we get a big bite, but whether you win with 10 pounds or you win with 20 pounds, it's the same difference.
Absolutely.
Might not be as fun, but it's still the same. And to me, the old grinder tournaments where you don't get very many bites, that make me think and put me under pressure and make me do things that I normally probably wouldn't do, like flip over 5 logs back here in a little stinking hole of water. And if one bites, how am I going to get him out? I worry about getting him out after he bites.
Exactly.
So it's just, to me, it's exciting.
I've won I've won a couple tournaments with less than 10 pounds from the back of the boat. And and this is when we're going against the boaters. And little club events like that. And look, I got the same paycheck as if I caught 20 pounds.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And there's no saying out there that I've heard many times. My dad's told me many times, how you start don't matter. It's how you end, how you finish. So if all you can get is 5 bites in a day and they're all 2-pounders, well, you got 10 pounds.
Yep.
And
keep on grinding.
You're sitting pretty good.
Just keep on grinding. That's it.
Just know what you're up against before you go, and be ready for a long, tough day. But them long, tough days is what makes men out of men.
Oh yeah.
Barking
fishermen out of men.
Barking Ruger says you miss a lot of fish on forgiving limber rod. If you're under trees or in a smaller boat, you'll appreciate the shorter length. That is true.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
He's not about to give up the juice on my Snoopy poles. Now, all seriousness, the balance of the rod, the reel, the line, the bait. It doesn't matter price. If you can use it, you can use it.
That's right.
I used to get my butt kicked by a Zemco 202.
Oh yeah.
And the guy's guy would be fishing lily pads, frog fishing.
I can believe it.
Oh yeah.
I can believe it.
I'm like, well, how? And I'm watching him catch fish. I'm like, how the heck is he doing that? It's like John Sokop telling us about the guy catching fish over him with the old
ugly stick with the glow tip. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I'll tell you a funny story about John Sukop and I. We were down, it's been a couple of years ago now, when I was fishing the NPFL. We were down on a Harris chain, and I had found some fish in Big Harris right there, pretty close to the mouth of where it goes under a bridge and it turns to what they call Little Harris.
Yep.
So, everybody's taking off, and I was pretty late flight, and I ginned up the old Phoenix, and away I went when they called my number. I think I was boat 90 or whatever it was. I was way back there in the pack. And I rolled up there, and I see old John Sukop, and he's in his aluminum boat right up against the bank and catching them too. I mean, just right up against the bank. I don't think I could have got my Phoenix in there, but he was right up in the cypress trees against the bank, catching and fishing. Of course, he had a limit the first day, and I did too. But every time he like left after a little bit, and then I run around. I said, well, I got some more fish on the other side of the lake. I run over to the other side of the lake, near close to the what do they call that? The Dead River that runs between Harris and Griffin.
Yep.
And I'll be dadgum if he wasn't on my fish there too. So we kind of played hopscotch like that for 3 dadgum days. We were fishing the same dadgum fish. He just happened to get more bites than I did, and he actually won the thing. And he outfished me for sure on that one. But I was chasing him all over the lake. It seemed like everywhere I'd go, he'd be there, and kind of vice versa. But John's a good dude. I mean, he's
he
got
is.
he's got a bad rap over some things that have happened in the past that probably weren't true. I don't think that he would go out there and do anything like that, being from Oklahoma. So I kind of got a pull for John there a little bit. John's a good guy.
Absolutely. Yep.
I fished against him 2 or 3 dozen times, and I don't have no animosity towards him at all. But it's kind of funny that 2 guys from the same state that ain't staying together. I wasn't talking to him, had no freaking idea, and we wind up on the same bunches of fish everywhere we go. But that's just how it goes, I guess.
Oh yeah, it does. But that's funny though. That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought that would be a little bit interesting.
Yeah, that y'all picked the same areas. That is pretty funny.
Yep. We both found fish in the same places. We were both fishing basically. We were down there in. Oh gosh, I can't remember when we were down. It seemed like it was in a daggone fall, like in September or something. And there was like some little bitty bait fish up there around those trees that them fish were eating, little bitty tiny things. But I don't know what kind of little minnows they was, but man, there was a bunch of them. But it lasted for a couple hours in the morning, and then you kind of had to back off and kind of fish the grass lines to catch them. But I just didn't get the bites, and I should have been able to compete there. But it's the way it goes. Come tournament time, sometimes things just don't work out.
Yeah, that's true, man. Very.
Troy Mims is at Logan Martin for the Open, boat 186.
Hey, good luck, Troy. Hey, who'd you get for a boater day one, buddy? I've done a few opens.
No, Eddie, I spoke to you a couple weeks ago. I've come out of retirement. I'm going to build some rods. I've got a couple pistol grips here. We'll talk.
Oh, yep. There you go.
I'm on board already. I told you I was a couple weeks ago.
And funny story about me getting into rod building. A mentor of mine, older gentleman, he'd probably be 102 or 103 now. So he's a couple years older than Rob.
Pretty much. Close.
He was a rod builder, and he'd build rods for people in the club. So I'm like, hey, Jack, you mind building me a rod? He goes, nope. If you want one, make it yourself. So that's how I started rod building, and it's a blessing and a curse.
Yep.
Because I like doing it, but
little tedious, I'd say.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. There's a reason why I have never built my own rods, and that's why.
Yeah.
Because number one, I ain't got time. I work 50 to 60 hours every week, and there's just not time for me to take up that kind of hobby. Though I've started to a couple of times, and it's like this. I know what I need to fish with. I know the exact action I need to do what I need to do with. But I don't really necessarily know how to do that. I'm going to leave that up to the experts.
There you go. Yeah.
I feel like I can go out here and buy. Look, if I wanted to go buy a quantum rod or something like that they sell, or Berkeley lightning rod, which was a hell of a rod back in the day, and probably still is. And you can buy them at Walmart for what, $70?
Yep.
$100. I could probably do at least 60% of my fishing with something like that. I don't need a $250 rod to go fish with, but it was for me to buy the material to build my own rod. And I've looked at it. I've looked at it a couple of times. I went to Mudhole and looked at it. I can't even come close to building a rod for what I can buy one for.
No.
And if I had the time and all that, and maybe I would, but I'm happy to buy something off the shelf for somebody as long as it's, I want an American-made product though.
Yeah.
I'm strongly adamant about that. I really prefer 100% American-made product if I can get it.
Well, it's going to be very hard to get 100% because a lot of the guides, the Fuji guides, are all made in Japan.
Yeah. Understood.
Oh, yeah.
But I have some original G. Loomis blanks from when Gary had it before he sold it to Shimano.
Yep.
That I believe are either 6 or 6.5 foot medium heavy.
Cool.
And I decided, well, instead of worrying about buying some rods and stuff like that, because it is less expensive to buy rods from companies, I got all this stuff. I probably got 100 blanks, rod blanks.
Ooh. Yeah. Hey. Hello.
I probably got enough thread to wrap the world a couple times.
That'll take long.
Oh, man. So you're set up and ready to go then.
Oh, I am. I'm actually rearranging my basement again.
Just to build some rods.
So I can build. Yep.
Well,
so we're getting back into it.
Yeah, that sounds real nice. Real nice. And I would like to try one of them pistol grip ones when you get them made.
Shoot, yeah.
There's a lot.
That's classic.
There's so many things you can do with that little old rod.
Yep.
That you can't necessarily do with a 7-foot rod or 7.5 or 6.5 foot rod. But people don't believe me. But if I put one in my boat, I'll show them.
Oh yeah.
I'll show them
now,
what
another
to do
thing,
with it real quick.
Now another thing I'll tell you about rods. You two might be old enough to know about the Roberts wrap. That's where the bait caster, where the rod, the guys aren't on top, they're on the bottom.
Yep.
You get that nice spin.
Yep.
And
I remember those.
They're more sensitive.
Yep.
And
I have one.
What's that?
Oh yeah.
That I have one. I have a Cast King rod that's spiral wrapped.
Yeah, Spirali. Okay. Yeah, the Spirali. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty neat looking. That's the Cliff Crochet's rod. Yeah.
That's a pretty nice rod.
Yep.
And I'll tell you a couple things about that. You know how a rod blank is made out of mandrel and rolled?
Yep.
Yep.
And that's why it makes.
That's probably true. That's probably true. Yeah.
And that's why when the natural rotation of the blank goes with the guides. The guides go with the blank. So it makes it more sensitive, makes it stronger.
Yep.
I mean, and Barking Ruger's, I don't badmouth her baking, her cooking, or anything like that.
He knows better. Oh man. Yeah. But I take a short rod like that 6.3 I got, and I'll actually flip and pitch big old Popar, the old school P70 3/4. And Tennessee, like out the foe, some of the guys in Tennessee did that, and I got to where I do that, and it's a lot of fun. Yep. It's amazing where you can get that thing in there.
Yep, it is. It's all about being accuracy with your presentation, and that goes right back to balancing your rod and your reel, your line, and your lure, right? So to be more accurate with your presentation, because sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times, if you say like you just said, you're pitching a Popar with it. If that Popar hits over 2 foot away from that bass, he might look at it, but he ain't gonna jump on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if that thing lands on top of his head and you go plap plap, you can't take it.
He's gonna react to it. He's gonna react to it.
He's gonna jump on it.
Yep.
So, in all fishing situations that I know of, excluding the whole forward-facing sonar phenomenon that we're seeing, is the closer you can get your bait to that log, that stump, that tree, that dock, the better, the more chance you are to catch a fish, especially if you can make that bait. And like your papa, they'll walk a little bit. If you can walk that thing up there and make that thing hit the side of that tree, oh man, that'll make them just lose it. They can't help but bite it, because they think that dang minnow has done run into the tree and hurt itself. That's the whole premise behind roll. You roll cast a spinnerbait under a dock, and then you roll your line over here and make it come by that pole and whack that pole. That's when you're going to get the bite.
It knocks the algae off in the minnows and the perch. Yeah, the perch start eating that stuff. You knock off the pole, and the bass comes up and see what all the commotion is. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely get some attention.
And I'll forever till I go to my grave. I think that, and I'm gonna kind of diverse here and go to another subject. A wacky worm.
Yep.
In my mind, I'm thinking when I'm a little old kid and I'm out there wading in the creeks, catching these little smallmouth bass, little Kentucky bass, perch, and stuff like this. And you see all this mosquito larvae in the water, and you know how they do. They just kind of, they kind of undulate. I'm a firm believer that's exactly what a bass thinks that dadgum Cinco is. You can't make me believe anything different. I think that's what he thinks it is, and I think it's a condition. He grew up when he was 2 inches long, a little baby bass, eating those larvae.
Yep.
And now he's 4 years old and he weighs 4 or 5 pounds. Hey, there's me a big larvae. I'm fixing to eat it. I think that's the way they think. It's just practical. So it's a learned behavior that a bass exhibits in my mind of how they react and how they feed. Eventually, the bass are going to get a learned behavior of this forward-facing sonar stuff, and I'm hoping and praying they come back to the bank where I can catch them.
There you go. But I got a little pond. I got a little pond at the Army base by my house. I can still go fish. I got a fishing pass, and I can catch stuff on a wacky rig at 12 months out of the year. It don't matter if it's 9 degrees or 90. I can catch them on a wacky rig.
Yep. Just throw it out there and let that thing undulate to the bottom, and they don't see it. I mean, it's I think I did a post about a week ago, I think, talking about it would blow your mind if you knew how many bass actually seen your bait but didn't bite.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So when I'm out there fishing, I'm consciously thinking about that, thinking that there's a bass following my crankbait, or there's a bass following my chatterbait. So I jerk it real quick. I make it do something erratic, make it run sideways or run it into something. That's what triggers the bite.
Oh yeah.
And that's what made Kevin Van Dam so damn good over the years. It's because he knew that. And, every freaking cast that you make, it doesn't matter where you go in the country. Every cast you make, there's a fish looking at your bait.
Yep.
I believe that 100%.
Oh yeah.
I don't care if you're in 5 foot of water or 70 foot of water. There is a fish looking at your bait.
Now that guy that you mentioned, Kevin Van Dam.
Yeah.
Was he any good? I hear his name a lot.
Well, I tell you what, I fished against him several times over the years. And when I was really young in my career and I really didn't know what I was doing, and I was trying to fish some things. I remember fishing against him once on Kentucky Lake. And, I went out there and I had found some fish in some bushes. It was a good tournament for me, but it was a better tournament for him. But, I could not grasp going out offshore and finding those fish. And this is before we had the crap we got today.
Oh, yeah.
This was way back there in the 90s, late 90s, I think. And I couldn't imagine, them guys catch them out there like that. But they did.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I ain't going to say that I haven't I've also beat Kevin a time or two in a few tournaments. I beat some of the really prominent guys, Rick Clun and some guys, but it's not, I'm proud of the fact that I beat them, but hey, I didn't do very good either. but, they finished a place or two behind me or a place or two in front of me. It was right there together. I have the utmost respect for all those guys because they came up in a time, number one, they came up in a time when the sport was just taking off. So they had a really, really head start on guys like me. So, but they had to learn how to do things the hard way. I mean, really the hard way with a flasher or maybe a paper graph or something. But those guys became very well rounded in every aspect of fishing. If fish were biting a spinnerbait, you could bet your sweet bottom dollar that Kevin Van Dam was on them.
Oh yeah.
If they were on a shallow running crankbait, you can bet your bottom dollar Rick Clun was fixing to catch them.
Oh yeah.
So you just knew, kind of from reading in Bassmaster magazine and Bass Fishing magazine, this that you knew kind of how those guys actually went about fishing, even though I didn't know them. But I'm out there, kind of doing my thing, and they're just smoking me, just roasting me. I went to again on Kentucky Lake, and it's been I think it was either 2015 or 2017. I was weighing in, and I was right next to Mark Rose. He had a bag, and I had a bag. I said, Mark, you don't know me from Adam, and he probably wouldn't remember this today. I said, Mark, you don't know me from Adam. Are the fish offshore? And he said, he kind of leaned over quiet to me. He said, yeah, but they're limited. I said, that tells me all I need to know.
Yeah.
I think he finished a couple of places ahead of me in that. I don't remember if it was the Everstart or what it was we was fishing. It's pretty big tournament, but I finished like 18th or something like that, and he finished like 15th or somewhere around in there. So the fish were kind of in limbo there at that time. They didn't really know where they actually wanted to be. We just caught them in that stretch, but he found some outshore, and I had spent a couple of days graphing and looking out there and never seen the first fish. So that kind of tells you those guys are in their respective techniques and the things they do. They're that much better than what you actually even think they are.
Oh yeah.
And like let's see, last year when I was fishing the invitationals, I was thinking, who was it? I was thinking somebody. I'll catch it here in a minute. Think of them. I don't know who it was right now, but somebody I've kind of always looked up to. How good of an angler they were or whatever. Every dadgum tournament, this guy came in with a limit of bass. And keep in mind, I didn't get to practice for but one of those tournaments last year, and I finished like 70th for the year with no practice. But every tournament I look at this guy, and he would always have a limit of bass.
Yeah.
Those guys are on a whole different level than average guy like me is. Like, they go out there and they're able to put those pieces of that puzzle together very, very, very quickly.
Oh yeah.
And dial it in. Now, they may have had 3 or 4 days of practice or whatever, and I didn't have any, but they did it every single cotton picking time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Oh yeah.
And
and adjust when things change. They adjust and get right back on it.
Yep, and they adjust. Where I get hard headed and just kind of keep trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
But they let it flow. They listen to their instincts, and they let their instincts tell them what they should be doing, where they should be doing it, how they should be doing it. Whereas me, sometimes I get stuck in my own mind trying to make them be in a bush or something, and they're just not there.
Oh yeah.
If the fish ain't there, you're not gonna catch them.
No.
Even with today's technology, your instincts have to play a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yep. And last year, it's something I can say about the invitationals last year. Like, I only got to practice for, I said one, I think 2 I practiced for. And one of the one I did worst on was my home lake on New Fallen there in Oklahoma. I just, I practiced for 2 days. I thought I had it figured out. And I now know that the fish, what they did is they went on the beds, and I just couldn't see them.
Right.
They weren't biting on my dock flipping pattern that I'm going on. But it's just subtle movements like that. If I had a thought about that happening, I could have made a really quick adjustment there, and probably kept right on catching 20 pounds a day like it was in practice.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I didn't do it. Some of the other guys were able to do that, but I didn't do it, And but still, when you go to one of these tournaments such as that, the Invitational, and you don't get practice, it's kind of like I want to call it baptism under fire.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you have to do it. And you'll see, if you look back on what I did last year, you'll see 3 or 4 tournaments there where I came in and I was in the top 10 the first day. Pretty way up there in the standings. What not practicing got me was I wasn't able to find enough fish to carry me through a 3-day tournament. That's all it was. It's not that. What happened is, the areas that I found, I just ran out of fish and I didn't have any more fish to catch. So that in itself is probably the only reason I would ever consider practicing, and that's also the reason I wish they would cut a lot of the practice out.
Yeah,
it's because it would be a proving ground for these guys to know, and that's coincidentally that's why I'm so in love with the Touring Anglers Association and how they're doing things. No practice, no information, no nothing. You show up, you go ride around for 3 or 4 hours, look at what you're going to look at. You come back, get a night of sleep, and the next day it's on. There is no. It's the fairest thing out there in the land, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Especially for a guy like me that works 5, 6, 7 days a week. I don't have the luxury and the time and the vacation to be able to take off and go do that. So I like those tournaments where there's no practice time, and I don't care if you live there. If you live there, you're going to have a little bit of experience.
Yep.
But my instincts are pretty strong, and I feel like I can compete with anybody in the world in that situation, because that's how I grew up.
Kind of levels the field a little bit.
Absolutely does. When I was a young man, first starting out tournament fishing, going with my dad, and this ain't no lie, we would drive down into Texas. We live where we live now, there in Oklahoma, but we would drive to Lake Fork or Bob Sandlin or Sam Rayburn or just any of those East Texas lakes, and we didn't practice. We didn't have the money to practice. We would go down there and literally roll a sleeping bag out on the deck of the boat and put a tarp over us where we could sleep if it rained.
Yep.
And we get up the next morning and it was on. We went fishing. And I can't tell you how many tournaments me and my dad won together doing exactly that right there.
Yeah.
I wish, my dad's getting pretty old now, and he's 72, so he doesn't have the stamina to do those kind of things anymore. But someday before he goes or I go, I want to do that again with him, because that is a very, very strong positive memory that I have of my father growing up when I was a teenager, doing
Absolutely.
those kind of things like that. And look, back then I didn't know any different. I just thought that's how it went. And it kind of was, but man, there was sure some good times.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. Well, let's close it on that. You can't really close on a more positive statement than that, memories of your father and stuff like that. So we'll definitely stay in touch. We got a couple things brewing, backstage kinds of stuff that we're working on now. I got an idea for you. And,
all right.
And it's not going to hurt you too much.
Heard that.
All right,
Well,
buddy.
so-
Hey,
all right.
you be safe. Keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate everything you're doing on social media. I get a kick out of it, even though you deny that was your boat. I don't know.
That was funny. That was funny.
Like I said, don't look twice. You'll have to see me out there next week doing just exactly that. So,
Hey, you got to at least try it once. Hey,
hey, I got to keep up with the competition somehow.
that's right. That's truth, man.
There you go.
All right.
All right, buddy.
You guys have a good one.
All right.
You
Appreciate
too.
you, buddy. You have a good one. All right.
you for coming
Thanks. All right. Thanks. Oh, man. Eddie's a character, man. I got to love that guy. He's a character.
Yeah. He is. Great guy.
Absolutely.
I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw that picture. I'm like, all right.
I can see that happening. Yeah, I can see that happening in some places I've been.
Yeah.
But that's pretty dang cool.
I stopped wait for a minute because I'm moving my rod section right over here.
Man, I ain't seen one of those in like forever, but love it. Love it.
So, all right, buddy. Well, another week down.
Yep. Never on the books, man. We'll do it again next week. Have a lot of fun like we always do.
Oh, yeah. That's what it's about, man.
Yep. Absolutely.
Next week, we have Cindy Alder Jackson.
Yep.
Stephen Draghi from
Yep.
He top 5 in the Toyota series down in Florida.
Absolute stick.
Kevin McGibney.
Good lineup. Oh man.
So Joe, get your questions ready for electronics. He's
oh yeah.
Does a lot of aftermarket electronics and stuff like that. So
yeah, he's definitely a guru.
Yeah. He can he'll help you all out. So
absolutely.
Anything else?
No, that's about it. Best luck, our boy Troy Mims. Hey man, I'll catch the weigh in, see how you do, and hopefully you have a good tournament, man. It's a pretty good lake, a lot of spots. So yeah, like Joe says, oh yeah, I'll bring it. Oh yeah, we know you do, man. You do every time, but yeah, we appreciate all y'all listening and subscribing, commenting, and asking questions. Hey, we really appreciate it, guys, and y'all keep tuning in. We'll bring you some good guests, and we learn as much as you guys do, for sure.
I'm still working on some redneck boat fixes on the water.
Hey, I know a guy, and he just commented. He's fixed quite a few underwater. I'll just put it that way.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. All right, everybody. Well, y'all take care. Have a good weekend. Be safe, and hope to see you Monday.
All right, y'all. Be safe and peace out.